Welcome to REST, which stands for Resiliency and Empowerment Seminar Today. It is a show where I interview CEOs of small and mid-sized businesses, heads of nonprofits, and other community leaders. And the idea is to hear these stories of resiliency, especially during these challenging times. And I'm Susan Gans, and I'm delighted to be bringing these conversations to you. Today, I'm so excited to be speaking to Dakshayani Saxena, who joins us from India. So it's so great to speak to somebody from the other side of the world. And let me tell you a little bit about her. She's an advocate and dispute resolution and corporate advisory attorney with her own firm, AT Lit Law. She's an experienced dispute resolution professional in New Delhi, India, with expertise in litigation, arbitration, and mediation proceedings involving complex commercial disputes, breach of contracts, white-collar crimes, and recovery of monies. And she regularly represents and advises individuals and companies regarding dispute resolution strategies and recovery of large sums of monies from government and private entities. And as a co-founder of this law firm, the law firm itself specializes in corporate commercial dispute resolution, litigation, and arbitration, and regularly appears before the Supreme Court of India, Delhi High Court, company law tribunals, and telecom dispute tribunals on behalf of individuals and corporates. And Dakshayani has completed her law degree in 2016 from Amity University in India, and also undertook the diploma in entrepreneurship, administration, and business laws from West Bengal National University of Judicial Sciences. So there's a lot of wonderful things happening in that background. So welcome to our show, Dakshayani.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was a very long and warm welcome, and I feel great about myself after you said all those nice things. So, thank you.
I appreciate having you. So let's go back in time a little bit to some of the earlier days of your career and how you came upon and decided to go into law and dispute resolution.
So, that's now an interesting story now because, but now that I look back, it's something that I didn't plan on. So I wanted to be an investment banker, Susan, and that's only
Wow.
because I had speaken to somebody who was an investment banker himself, and he's said some really wonderful things about being an investment banker. So while I was completely confused because as a high school student who's just come out into the real world and has to decide what to do the entire life, I was very confused. So I just thought, okay, I've met this guy. This guy's doing really well. Let's do what he's doing. So, I gave my entrances for my finance courses and my management courses, and I eventually also got through one. So I had started studies in finance, and midway I realized that okay, this is not my cup of tea. I just went with what I thought was best, but that's not actually what I want. Because and thankfully this revolution sort of came at the right time, because I already had an offer from one other university for a law degree. So I said, okay, let's before this offer runs out too, let me just switch my major, do a law degree, and see how that turns out. So more than a lifelong calling, this was just life's way of sort of giving me a revolution that that's not meant for you. Investment banking is not meant for you. So that's how I went with law.
Terrific. And not everybody, takes that chance where they're thinking, okay, I think I'm going to go one way. And then they come to this realization that, well, maybe it isn't for me and maybe I need to switch paths. And not everybody's comfortable with making that change. So how did you get comfortable with making the change to pursue what you ultimately found to be your true calling?
So what how I was in school was that I wanted a taste of everything. I would tell my parents also, making a choice was always hard for me. Now it's not, of course. Now this profession is about quick decision making. But that time, if you gave me a choice between drama and music, I would say that I would 12 hours I'd do my drama classes, and 12 hours I'll do my music, but I'll do both. So I just wanted to do everything. And I used to research for hours and hours, before I wanted to select a career. And law was one of my top choices, even though I swayed towards finance and banking a little bit. But law gave me the freedom to be a part of every industry. So meet people from every industry, touch the field of every industry. So now I can be in touch with people from the entertainment world. I can deal with people from the business world. I can still pursue my interest in economics. So that's what gave me the inkling to be part of law. I just want to do everything. That's what my motivation was. So yeah.
Terrific. So you wanted that sense of variety. And then after school, you went to join a traditional law firm, and then you decided to go off on your own and started your own law firm with another colleague. So tell us about, what made you want to be this entrepreneur and start your law firm. Tell us more about that.
Okay, so that is another interesting story, Susan. Actually, so like I was telling you before, also, with law, I don't know how it's in the West, but uh, with every lawyer that I've come across here in India, I think they have that innate a desire to be on their own someday in life. So either you want to have your own chamber, your own practice, your own law firm. So I think I was no different from those people. And eventually, I think 10, 15 years down the line, I did plan to have my own law firm. And I was working with this law firm. Otherwise, after I graduated, I worked with them for about 3.5, I think almost close to 4 years. And I wanted to shift and move to a better job. That the idea was to get a job. Having a law firm was no way in the plan. That was still a decade ahead of me. But interestingly, while I was in the process and in that transition, I happened to have a chat with one other partner who's now the co-founder and my partner in the firm. And he was also transitioning. I think he had also juggled around with the idea of having a law firm. He's a bit senior to me, so I think he was a little closer to his decade milestone where he wanted his own practice. So we started chatting up, and we realized that actually he made me realize that something I want shouldn't have to wait 10 years or 15 years when life's giving you an opportunity to do it now. So he said, if you eventually do want to do it, and I am doing it, then do it. Let's do it together. And I don't think that could have been a better opportunity. So even though for me it was a decade ahead, I think life gave me the opportunity a little earlier in life. So yeah, that's how I met my partner. That's how we decide on the core values. And just by the way, there was no money negotiation ever. I didn't ask him how much I will get and how much he will take, or whatever. We just sat down and we enlisted the core values that we believed in. And I said that, okay, we meet minds on these values, and that's enough for me to get in business with you. And that's how it started.
Wow. So tell us about those core values, because for me, that's so fundamental to the success of a company is really when it's values and mission driven, because those become that foundation from which decisions are made. So tell us about your core values of your firm.
Okay, I completely agree with you, Susan, there that core values, they do define the success or the failure of a person or a company or an enterprise, really. Because once every decision starts getting made on the basis of a core value, I think you can always handle things even when they go along. So that way we did sit and decide what we wanted, and we were very clear from the beginning. We decided to make 80 lit and law into a client centric practice. So I think it's been in the blood of the legal fraternity that we are not very client centric, in the sense that when a client comes to us, we'll probably think of how we could elongate the process to get more business, or maybe we'll think it from the legal perspective, the judicial perspective, as to okay, which law could possibly be interpreted how. But we still are way behind on how the client wants it to be interpreted to safeguard his business, or personal views, or for his goodwill. So we decided that any solution or any legal strategy that comes from our firm is only going to be driven by the interests of a client. So we will never try to elongate any litigation. We will never try to push a client into a trial when it's not needed, just for our personal or business interests. So of course this was a value system that we created. Some people have started adopting it, some haven't, but we do want to be pioneers in these sort of these value systems that we want to create. Of course, apart from this, we believe in communication, being honest, and having constructive discussions. So leadership for us is not just towards the client; it's for our employees. It's for everybody that's working with us, our colleagues, my partner himself. So we sat down and we've decided that whenever there's a hard conversation, there's going to be no shying away. Whether it's about the salary of a person, whether it's about a client's case going down, we will always be honest, we'll always be communicate, and we'll always be available. So we're not going to behave like the celebrities on a shoot where you can't reach us for the next 10 hours unless you take an appointment. So we've decided on some of these values, that we'll be available, we'll communicate, we'll be honest, and of course we'll be client centric. So yeah.
That's so fantastic, and I think so relevant and especially needed now. What do you feel some of the challenges have been as an entrepreneur and forging your way, especially during these times?
Well, Susan, when you talk about challenges, I think where I am, I have a different set of challenges as compared to maybe my partner who's a little ahead in the profession. So, my profession brings with it a set of very novel challenges that you may not find in other professions. So, law as a profession is dominated by seniors. So, people who are more experienced dominate the profession. And even today, I think it's also a little male dominated. Although women are doing very well in the profession now, they've started becoming senior advocates, arguing counsels. They have their own firms. But yes, if you see the ratio of men is to women, that's still a large way apart than it should be. It's still not 50-50. It's actually way off 50-50. So I think making it as a young lawyer and a female lawyer together sort of brings its own set of challenges for me, at least when I think about starting my own venture. So of course money is an issue. Whatever you've built over the last 4 or 5 years, how do you ration it? How much can you survive with? And when would you have to go run back to get a job if this doesn't work? All these strategies, all this planning has to be done, because you don't live in an ideal world. You can't just throw yourself in a business without knowing till when the money will last. So planning, strategy, financial planning, all of that is extremely important. Then the second bit of challenge that comes with you know age and experience in this profession is the fact that how much will clients take you seriously? How much would they want to work with you as a young professional or as a woman? Will they choose you over a male counterpart with a little more experience? How will you turn that in your favor? So I'm sorry, you could hear my dog in the background, I
So
think.
this is real. He's agreeing with what you're saying.
Absolutely, he's supremely excited about so anyway, so yeah, coming back to that, moving forward, being confident of your knowledge, of your agenda, of your strategy, and putting it forward like any male or experienced person in the industry would. That's another challenge that you have to face and overcome as a young female lawyer today, or as an entrepreneur. And of course, with law and entrepreneurship, there's an added burden that now you have to find your own work and do it too. So with other entrepreneurs, I think the thing is that you find work and then you delegate it to people, because operations is a different department, marketing is a different department, branding is a different department. But with law and a practice of your own or a firm of your own, you have to do every bit of the last piece by yourself. So you're managing the social page yourself, you're making the website yourself, you are doing the client meetings yourself, then you're making the opinions yourself, you're appearing in court yourself. So you're doing basically everything yourself. So it needs a lot of time and determination and patience, and of course a little love for what you're doing. So I think these are the challenges that any person who's trying to make it in law, or making a firm of their own, would likely face, especially at this age. So I'm talking half a decade in the field now. I'm almost 5 years. So this is the kind of scenario that you would probably find if you find yourself where I am. So, so yeah. And I think you also asked me a question as to how these challenges, juxtaposed with the situation now with COVID here,
Yes.
how I view these challenges in this scenario. I think, Susan, that way, once again, if your core values are straight and sound and you're patient, I think that helps, because I believe in doing a little bit every day and not thinking about the next, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months ahead, because that's always a cause and ground for anxiety. Once you start thinking too much about the future on a regular basis, it'll only just keep you in the future. So doing a little bit every day is what keeps me sane. It what helps me, and I think it'll help anybody that is trying to survive this period. Do a little bit every day, and that's all. Don't think about how it's going to come up, because today you have the money to get your pizza and your burgers and all, and that's all that matters. It doesn't matter if you're going to get a job tomorrow, or your business is going to tank tomorrow, or whatever else is going to happen. Just do your bit today and wait. That's all. And it's helped me a lot.
So some very informative advice here about, just stay the course, stay focused, and control what you can today. We don't know what we can control for tomorrow, but you can control your decisions and your actions right now in this very moment. I wanted to ask you, because you talked about, as an entrepreneur, you wear many hats and you do so many things. So my follow-up question is about your support system in place, and have you had mentors and sponsors along the way? So just so I'm clear on definition. So what I mean by mentors, is really somebody who you can be more relaxed with, ask any questions. And sponsors are really advocates in your career who will use their networks on your behalf, and often promote you when you're not in the same room with them. So who have been your mentors and your sponsors along the way in your journey?
So as a background, Susan, I just want to say I'm a first generation lawyer. That makes a very big difference here, at least, because if you have your parents as lawyers or your grandparents as lawyers, it's a very different ball game altogether. in the legal field. So, as a first generation lawyer, it's really, really important to have a mentor because you can't do everything yourself. Of course, like you said, you need people who will say things that are nice behind your back or with other people, or will just advertise you generally for your sake, or guide you whenever it's needed. So, in fact, I found my mentor in my partner today. His name is Alok Tiwari, and he's a wonderful, wonderful guy. So, you know, there are certain people who you will eventually find, because if you're moving ahead in life with the thought of having a person who will guide you through your way, you will eventually find it. Okay, so it's not rocket science to find a mentor. It's just somebody that you can sit down with, and you can ask the most frivolous questions and they will still get answered, and you will eventually find somebody. So it's nothing like that. So I found my mentor very, very early on, and I was not greedy to be part of a network of very different people. So I don't want to jump from one to the other very quickly. People now have developed this new millennial concept of doing a job just for 1 year and then moving ahead. I personally, I don't believe in that. I believe in nurturing relationships over a very long time, because whatever is short term will give only very short term results also. So what's nurtured for a lesser time will give results for a lesser time too. So with my mentor, I made sure that I gave him my time when I knew that I needed his or hers. So I now have multiple mentors in the industry, but in the beginning, I knew that if there is somebody who's willing to put in his or her time, I should also reciprocate with my time. So that's how I built my mentors. From my internships, I used to speak to people. Whenever I went to family functions, I used to speak to my relatives. So I spoke to everybody, and then I judged who I thought would be patient enough with me, and then I started investing my time back in that person. So sending mails, sending articles, discussing news pieces, even at the most unlikely times. But that sort of showed that I'm interested in knowing the person's views. So that's building relationships over a period of time. That's how I got my mentors and my sponsors. So all of them, I think, speak well of me, and I speak well of them. So it's always symbiotic, and it's a mutual relationship. That's how you get them in the industry.
So important. And I love what you said about nurturing relationships along the way, because you never know when opportunities are going to come. They might not come directly. It might be through somebody else of somebody else. Right. And I love what you also said about having multiple mentors, because sometimes I think people think they need like one certain type, but um, I think one can benefit by having some different points of views and perspectives, almost like your personal board of directors, to help you in nurturing and navigating in your business and in your career in general.
Correct.
So thank you for that. So what would you say, like, what is empowerment to you? Because it seems like with you have a lot of self strength and self motivation, and even how we met was through a LinkedIn connection, and you wrote me a note, and so let's talk about that. What does empowerment mean?
So, Susan, that's actually a very complicated question, because I think empowerment can have very different definitions for different people. Uh, of course, one bit of empowerment is for myself, which I have developed now. I have been the biggest procrastinator in the longest time.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. I had great ideas in my head, but when it came to actually sitting down and working on them, I think it was the biggest task in the world. I would just never get to doing things, and I remained that for a very large part of my life. But thanks to a lot of books, my mentors, my sponsors, all of them, I think I'm finally at a place where I can say that I get things done when they need to be done. So I think empowerment for me was when I was able to teach myself and tell myself and push myself to do things when they needed to be done. So I always knew how to do that thing, but just to be able to get to doing that thing was empowerment for me. So that's of course one definition of empowerment. The other is the empowerment that you instill in other people. So, how much time you're devoting to speaking to people who might be in the same place as you. So, I love talking to students today, or young lawyers, or female lawyers for that matter, who I know would be facing the same situation as me. So, I love telling them, I love giving them my learnings as to how to get things done, how to conduct yourself, in a more professional manner, or how to read, how to study, how to learn law, everything. So that's the other aspect of empowerment that you have, so to impart your knowledge. So yeah, that's empowerment for me.
So it sounds like along the way you got some discipline and focus in order to get things done, and now you're paying that forward in sharing your knowledge with others who are making their way up. I wanted to ask you if you have any daily routines or rituals that you do to get you focused.
So, Susan, what I understood about my focus personally is that it can't stay for longer than 15 minutes. So, I decided that I'm going to focus for 15 minutes. And then for the next 15 minutes, I'll do whatever the hell I want. And then I'm going to get back to focusing for 15 minutes. Of course, this is something that doesn't work for everybody. According to science and psychology, you have a focus window of, I don't know, 40, 50 minutes. So it can work for different people, different ways. But for me, how it works is the moment I wake up, of course, there's a little stretching I need to do. I need to clear my mind. I have been trying to develop a practice of meditation. Hopefully, that'll get developed soon. But right now, I just wake up, stretch, have a glass of water, just do anything that makes me feel awake. And when I get to do, when I'm sitting down to do my work, I know for a fact that I'm going to get distracted by certain things. So I make sure I remove those things, at least for the 15 minutes window that I know I'm going to focus on nothing but that piece of work. So my phone is in the other room. My internet is off when I'm writing something, and anything else that I know will distract is gone. But I have now understood, after a lot of introspection, I've understood that I can't concentrate for more than 15 minutes. So rather than seeing it as a weakness for me, I have converted it into, an opportunity. So I know I will focus for 15 minutes, and then I take a break. I walk around. I maybe go to Instagram. Maybe look at LinkedIn. But I think understanding your pattern of concentration and focus and what will work best for you, that is very important, and it comes with age and experience. But if you have a chance to understand it now, then do it, because it'll really help you. So now I get about 500% more work done than I used to about 2 years ago. I write one article each day because I've understood how my brain works and how that pattern sort of it helps me. So I think, yeah, that's it.
So that's fantastic. I think what I personally take away from your story here is that you really recognized how you optimally work and build your work day around what works for you, which might not work for the next person, but your message is find out what works for you, leverage that, and you'll be able to get more done. And with that, in the last few minutes of our conversation today, I want to hear from you. What is the takeaway that you want our audience to remember about this conversation?
So, Susan, I think, you know, if there's just one thing you can take away today that you want will benefit you eventually in the long run, it's that do a little bit every day, each day. So I don't want to say, you know, I don't want to say big things and I don't want to give away big words to you, because I have understood that no good thing or nothing that will give you the benefits for a longer time is made or constructed in a short span. So if you do 100% in one day, that'll be much lesser as compared to the 10% you do every day, which will result into a 365% in 1 year, as against the 100% you did one day. So do a little bit every day, stay consistent in that. So if you like writing, but you can't get yourself to write an article, uh, write 5 lines every day and eventually you'll get the article. So don't look at tasks as a behemoth, because nobody can build a behemoth in one day. Look at it as smaller tasks. So with success and money, everything is, it's like your body. If you're ready to work on it every day a little bit, it'll eventually be built the way you want it to be built. So do a little bit every day. That's the only takeaway I want people who want to start a business, or who want to do good in life, or who want to do well professionally should take away from this conversation. That's how I have built everything.
That's fantastic. So I'm going to repeat what you said about do a little bit every day, do it consistently, and break larger projects, initiatives into smaller bite-sized parts that you can tackle on a daily basis. And when you look back in a few months, you'll see all the things that you've accomplished. So Dakshayani, thank you so much for this conversation. I want to make sure that people find you. So I know you have your information on a slide. Can you bring that up for us?
Oh yes, absolutely. I have it right here.
So there she is, Dakshayani Saxena, and you will see her website is www.atlitlaw.com, and you can also find her on LinkedIn with her first and last name. I'll ask you to stop sharing now, then we'll close out our interview. Thank you so much. It's been so wonderful to take this journey with you today and hear about how you started your career, how you went into entrepreneurship, and what keeps you motivated each day. I look forward to continuing our conversation outside of this interview. And I thank you to my audience for watching, for listening. Until the next time on Rest.
Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.